I'm talking with Karen Clarke, author of From Bullied to Brilliant, How to Artfully Avoid Fitting In. I had the pleasure of getting to know Karen last year when she partnered with Australian Teacher Aide to present a webinar for schools on breaking the pattern of bullying. And we have continued our work together and are now developing a program for schools on bullying. Today is National Day of Action Against Bullying and Violence, and on this day schools are encouraged to get the whole school community and wider community talking about bullying and spreading the message that bullying and violence is never okay. Karen, how can schools start spreading this message?
Well, they can begin, of course, in assembly or in the classroom when they're talking to the groups of kids and students. Clearly, bullying needs to be a topic that is regularly discussed and is constantly at the forefront of the school policy when it comes to behaviour. They can talk to parents at meetings and professional development in relation to dealing with bullying, and just keeping a general awareness on the need for love and compassion and good behaviours within the school environment can be extremely productive.
So you've already done some work with schools, Karen. Last year you did some talks at schools up in Gympie, I believe.
Yes, that was really fun actually. I'll be doing more this year. I've been working with the Brisbane Broncos, who have a youth empowerment program that they run in conjunction with Gympie Council, and several schools participated, and we spoke to a number of different grades about the need to understand the bully-victim dynamic, to understand what happens, and importantly to understand that being a bully or being a victim doesn't actually make you a bad person. It gives you the opportunity to perhaps develop some skills you haven't quite managed to tackle yet.
So what can you tell us about the bully-victim dynamic that you mentioned?
Well, the bully-victim dynamic is is what I've used to explain the relationship between a bully and a victim. Now, they operate actually as a team. In order for somebody to bully, someone else has to play the role of victim. So, for instance, if you attempt to bully a child who has good confidence and self-esteem, it won't work. You can try all you like, but they won't buy into it, they won't take it, unless it's physical bullying, and there's a whole other discussion around physical bullying, but for the purposes of what we're talking about, non-physical bullying is actually an interplay between the two parties. And when I explain that to the students and show them how, and the teachers importantly, when I show them how that plays out, it gives them a lot of power and a lot of information that they can then use to overcome the problem.
In your book, you have lots of people who've contributed who have found the power, if you like, and changed their own dynamic from being a victim to being, I guess, in charge of themselves and their own futures. Do you want to comment about how this different way of thinking can influence people's outcomes?
Yes, absolutely. The book is called From Bullied to Brilliant, and the reason why I chose that title is so that people can understand that it is possible to grow out of the experience of bullying. In the book, there's several contributors. All of the stories chosen have positive outcomes. And what we're showing is that bullying itself isn't necessarily as bad as it seems. Again, aside from physical bullying, which we won't discuss for the purposes of this moment, but aside from physical bullying, when bullying occurs, there is within it the opportunity to grow and develop. And I've picked very, very strong examples of people who have developed as a result of what they've experienced. They haven't stayed there, by the way. They haven't suffered unnecessarily or decided to become martyrs to the problem, but they have actually come to some really compelling conclusions about how to get themselves out of it.
So back to schools, how do you think that way of thinking can be translated to schools when they start having conversations about bullying?
Well, firstly, you can take the shame out of the bullying when you're discussing it as a pattern or a behaviour, as opposed to a bad bully or a weak victim, which is the current interpretation of the problem, which is wildly inaccurate, by the way. When you can start discussing it as behaviour and you can break it down into patterns, and people can see that this is replicated over and over in the home, it's replicated at school, it's replicated amongst staff, and in the workplace, between countries. It's a constantly observable problem, and it's not about good people and bad people, and it's not about weak people and strong people. When you can pick it apart, then the teachers are in a position to help the students form better behaviours, and the students are in a better position to understand themselves, understand what drives them, and understand what's not working for them.
Are you saying, Karen, that some of this begins with the labels that we use to describe?
Yes, definitely. I think we have an assumption that a victim is a weak person, and that a bully is a bad person, or even sometimes that a bully is aggressive. That's not always the case. There's a lot of covert bullying. There's a lot of underhand bullying. There's a wide degree of behaviours that are encapsulated in the word bullying. And in fact, if I could talk about it differently, I would even use the word bullying. There's dominant patterns, there's submissive patterns, there's personality types. So yeah, absolutely.
Karen, it's very hard to talk about bullying without using those words. And I don't think you're saying, are you, that bullying is okay? You're saying the way we talk about bullying is not okay. So if you were a teacher talking to a student who had shown bullying behaviour, how would you approach it?
Well, for a start, if you're going to talk about bullying behaviour, that's already an evolution. If you're going to say you're being a bully to a child, that in a sense shuts them down. It's like you're judge and jury. You've decided and you've formed a conclusion and you've given them an idea of themselves. But what you can say is you are demonstrating or you are behaving in a way that might feel like bullying to another person. You may or may not know this, by the way. That's the other thing. It's the background of the child. In their home, their behaviour might be acceptable, and in the classroom or in the school grounds, it's not. But they haven't yet made that differentiation. So the way you speak to the student is really important. That you are not criticising them. You are discussing the behaviour, and the only purpose of discussing the behaviour is with an idea as to how you can evolve out of it. So you're always looking for solutions, and that's very important, that they're mindful of their language, and the language is that you are looking for solutions, and that you understand that each student, victim and bully alike, has the capacity to change.
Thank you so much, Karen. So I think you've given some really valuable advice there. You're really saying that when we talk about bullying, we should be describing the behaviour, not the person, and that you're saying that there should always be a focus on the purpose, which is the solution, and those two approaches can go a long way towards getting good conversations about how to minimise bullying happening in schools.
Yes, absolutely. At the end of the day, the purpose of if you do have to have an intervention or some kind of discussion, the purpose of the discussion is for both parties to evolve out of the problem and become better people or better equipped at dealing with life challenges. And if you all stay focused on that goal, you have a much better opportunity or a much better chance of success.
Thanks, Karen. I know you're really passionate about the work that you do and wanting to make a difference, not just in schools but in the wider community when it comes to bullying. And at Australian Teacher Aide, we're certainly really excited about continuing that work with you. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Karen.
It's been a pleasure for me too. Thanks for talking to me.
And I'm not gonna let you steal